Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a pretty hard video to make just because, breakups are hard, and this one was exceptionally hard because of multiple reasons that I'll get into in a second. Before I begin, I want to give a little bit of a background to our relationship dynamic that me and my ex had. I'm also only going to refer to him as T. His name is T. I don't want to put out his real name just for privacy reasons, and also I don't want to confuse him with my current boyfriend in certain instances. When I'm referring to a him, I want you guys to know who I'm talking about. So basically, T and I were together for about 3 years. During this time, we had a very different relationship. We had this relationship that had a BDSM dynamic, and if you don't know what that is, it's an adult dynamic that kids should not participate in, and it gave us a little bit of a different connection. And he brought it into my life. He literally just asked me one day before we even met for the first time after 5 years if I had ever heard of a S/D relationship dynamic. And I was like, no. So I went and Googled it, and basically it's a sub-dom dynamic where I would be the submissive and he was my dom. And basically it was a power exchange. I'm not going to go too into it because if kids come on my channel, I don't want to give too much info because it's not for kids. It is for 18 and up consenting adults. Just have to give that disclaimer. And I really liked it. I fell in love with this whole kink lifestyle, and I really just wanted that to be us 24/7. I kind of took it and went on with it, and it was fun. So I'm giving this little background because in certain parts of this video I will be referring to certain terms such as daddy, baby girl, certain things that may confuse you, so I wanted to just elaborate on that a little bit before we got into it. I have a lot of screenshots. 136 to be exact. There's a lot because after I broke up with him, I had nowhere to go, and so I had to keep in contact with him because I was still living with him. We still lived in the same apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, but I couldn't just live in the second bedroom because we also had his uncle living with us. Basically, we shared the couch. And it was really hard. As you know, my spine's fused, and I need someplace that's really comfortable. And so during that time, we had a lot of exchanges over text message because talking was very hard for us, especially me, because I really didn't want to talk to him in basic terms. I didn't want to talk to him all that much because I was the one who broke up with him. I wanted my space, and honestly, I felt very uncomfortable around him because of the reasons why I broke up with him. And during this whole exchange, things got very heated when things didn't go his way, when he thought I was fooling around with a bunch of guys, and I think personally I dealt with it the best that I could. I did lie a lot, and I will tell you when I did lie and why I lied. And, you know, it's not something that you should be ashamed of, because when you're in an abusive relationship, whether it be physical or emotional, your mind is it's not normal, to say the least, and I did what I thought was best to protect myself. So in certain instances, I lied, and like I said, I will tell you why I lied and where I lied, and yeah, so let's get into it. I have my laptop here because, like I said, I have screenshots and a lot of them. So I want to make sure that I am going in order, and I made little notes for each screenshot, whether it just be what I want to specifically talk about, or if it was just like, for example, a small breakdown or something small just to like let you guys read it and whatnot. I will be putting the screenshots right here as I talk about them. So the first screenshot is the night that I broke up with him. It was Monday, January 27th, and I was at work, so I would work 10:45 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. That was our allotted time to be there, and after that I went out with some of my friends, Jesse being one of them, which is my current boyfriend, and one of my other friends, Esme. I basically just wanted to like push it off as much as I could, because this whole freaking day I was just bawling my eyes out at work. I was such a wreck because I really didn't want to go through with this, because I knew it was going to be really, really hard, not just on him, but on me too. I just wanted to be able to have my time to process how I was going to say things, you know, just build up my strength to do this, because I didn't feel like I was strong enough to do it. And so the whole day I was calling my mom, I was talking to Jesse, and they honestly gave me the strength that I needed to get out of this really bad relationship. And so in this screenshot, it basically just says, you know, T's asking me if I wanted to be alone. And I said, yes, I need my alone time. And it just goes, and like he knew, like you can tell, like he knew that things were about to end, because I'd been doing this for a couple days. And about a month before, like on New Year's Eve, this is what he's referring to in his fourth message right here. He's referring to in his fourth message right here that he's done everything that we talked about on New Year's Eve, because on New Year's Eve I brought up me moving out when our lease was up, still being in a relationship, but just moving out and being able to have that type of relationship where, you know, I'll see you tomorrow, but having like our own space, because we never really got that. And I thought that maybe that would fix our relationship, but in reality, you really shouldn't try and fix a relationship, because if it's broken, then that's not really a good relationship to be in. And I learned that from this, because I tried fixing it 3 or 4 times by bringing up breaking up, and every single time he would tell me things like, oh, we can do this, we can do that, I'll do this, I'll make sure I'm better and things will get better, and it never did. It was just talk. And like maybe it would get better for a little bit, but then it would go back, you know, right back to where it was before I talked about it. He's just basically saying like, I've done everything we talked about, I've been trying to be so caring, sweet, and supportive, and you still don't want me. It's not that I didn't want him, it's the fact that I didn't want the relationship. The relationship was not healthy. It wasn't good for either of us. We were just trying so hard to stay together. And you shouldn't really have to try. It should just happen. Then again, he's like trying to tell me like if there's anything. And at this point, there wasn't anything to fix. It was just what it was. And right here at the last message that I sent him, when I said, I do love you, like I meant it. I really did. I wasn't just saying that because he said it or I felt obligated to say it, but I felt like that was the last time I was going to be able to say it. So I did. And so right here, like I said, I went and hung out with Jesse and my friend Esme for a little bit, just to like push off. I think we smoked a little bit, and just like I was just trying to relax after work for one, so that I could go home and have the strength to break up with T. Basically, I just went home and we talked, and I broke up with him, and I don't really was kind of all of a blur when I got home. I kind of just went into the room and he was in the room, and I just kind of brought it up and we cried a lot. Like, I remember crying so much. That was basically it. Like, I think he, you know, like in normal, when you're breaking up or when you're getting broken up with, you try and say anything to like make them stay with you. And in this instance, I'm pretty sure he did, but I stayed strong, and honestly I'm super proud of myself that I did, because it was really, really hard on me for multiple reasons. This was the morning after. What I want to highlight on this is the fact that he says that it's probably not appropriate for the woman to be in the living room and me in the bedroom. So basically, like I said, we were sharing the couch, and I had slept on the couch that night that I broke up with him. I was like, oh, that's really, you know, that's really thoughtful. Like, I kind of agree. I was like, this is another thing that he's just saying, or is he actually serious about it? I wasn't really sure. Let's just highlight that for a second because it will come up later. And this is just being supportive, and he is giving me the door to like, or the open door to ask for anything if I need it. You know, just being sweet, supportive in the beginning. I don't know, leave that door open for me to think that things are gonna change. Not exactly sure, but he did this each time that I tried to break up with him, but this was just the first time that I actually went through with it. It just escalates from here. And this is showing that even though I broke up with him, like, I still was trying to be there for him. Even when he didn't get a job that he applied for, I was still trying to emotionally be there for him, because I felt really bad. Like, this whole situation wasn't because like I didn't still care for him. I just wasn't in love with him anymore because I was so broken at this point from everything that had happened. I still cared for him, I still loved him, but I just wasn't in love with him anymore. But I still wanted to be his friend at some point, and so I was just basically trying to just be there for him. This was just a continuation of that, just telling him that, like, basically when he was giving me the open door, I wanted to do the same, to just reciprocate. He started talking like this, and he would do this a lot, and it was hard for me to hear because that's kind of like suicide talk in a way. Like, what's the point of it? Like, what's the point of living, basically? And so, like, I had to, like, just basically put him in his place. Like, I don't want to hear that. I'm pretty sure he was trying to make me feel bad, and I just wasn't gonna let him do that. And this screenshot, what I took away from it was basically he was trying to bring me down to feel worse by saying that he hopes I don't feel as bad as him mentally. Yeah, I get that he was probably feeling really, really down. But who doesn't say that I wasn't too? Like, who says that this wasn't really, really hard on me? Why do we have to compare our mental health at this point? I was basically just like still trying to support him mentally by suggesting that he talk to someone, because I was talking to someone at this point, a therapist, and it was helping me so much, helping me stay strong. Just being able to talk to a complete stranger about your problems, it just feels so good. Because, like, everyone needs to vent, everyone wants to vent, but you don't want to vent to someone who knows your situation, is going to be biased about it. And so I was just basically like telling him, like, maybe you should try this, maybe it's going to help you, because I did do this a lot during our relationship. Like, this wasn't the first time I went to a therapist in my life, but also it wasn't the first time I had gone to a therapist during our relationship. And he had very bad anger issues. It was something that he told me from the very beginning, but he never did anything about it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So even when I would give him that, like, little bit of push, kind of like, hey, like, you know, I'll even help you find a therapist. I'll help you in any way possible to ensure that you can help yourself and so that you can get better. And he just wouldn't. he just would not take my help. And so with all of that I tried so hard to try and help him. So I basically just felt at this point that he wanted the excuse to get mad at little things that didn't really need to be a fight, didn't need to be an argument, whatever the case may have been. So that's just my opinion on why he wouldn't get help. I don't know if that was the case, but over the course of 3 years being with him and how many times I tried to help him, you would think that someone who actually didn't like this part of themselves or didn't want that to be part of them would take that help, you know? Like, it just didn't sit well with me. This night, Jesse wanted to take me to San Francisco to look at the Bay Bridge lights and just explore the area. I've lived in the Bay Area for 3 years, and never once have I really gone out and explored the nighttime San Francisco area. And I didn't know that the Bay Bridge had insane lights. Like, all of the wires, or whatever you call them, the cords that go up and down on the Bay Bridge, like, they light up at night, and it is so beautiful. But never once had I ever gone to see them. So Jesse wanted to take me. So we went to the mall, and then we went to this little area on the pier where you could see the Bay Bridge perfect right there. Then T asks me, it's fine, he asked me when I was going to be home because of sleeping arrangement, because like I said, we were sharing the couch. And I said, you know what, you can just take the room because I'm going to be, you know, gone pretty late. And then he just asks me how late, and I think he immediately realized, like, oh wait, that's none of my business. And like he said, never mind, none of my business. And then says, have fun, ... I know that he was jealous. I know that he was probably hurting, but what came next was not okay. Because especially after I said, like, you know, I'll be home after midnight probably, and just don't want to wake you when I get home, so you can take the room and I can just sleep on the couch. And must be some gorgeous lights. It's like, that wasn't the only thing that we were going to see, so yes, I was going to be out pretty damn late. And later that night I realized that I didn't leave any clothes out for me if I was going to be sleeping on the couch. So at 3:30 in the morning, I know that's pretty damn late, but I asked if he was still up, if I could, you know, come into the room, get some clothes, and take a dab. And then just go to bed. And he just, like, asks me why, and basically, like, I didn't want to sleep in my dress that I had worn, and, you know, he minded. Okay, that's why I asked and didn't just do it, you know. Then I thought he was being sweet, and, you know, what can I leave out? Okay, that's nice, you know, whatever, so I told him. This next one is when things got kind of testy. Basically, I knew something bad was gonna happen when he was like, I hope you had a lot of fun. I just didn't want to, like, give into it or anything, and I said, thank you, like, I'll be home in 10. He tells me, like, I'm hurting, but it's none of my business. Glad you had a good night. Please don't hold tonight against me. No matter what happened, it's just gonna be hard for me. I get that. I really do. But as an adult, any adult, you can still control what you say, especially when it's over text and you have to type it out and it doesn't just come blurting out of your mouth. You can still control what you say and how you react to a situation. And that is not an opinion. That is fact. I'm not going to share what I'm doing with you anymore because I just don't want to hurt you. And this is how I'm dealing with things, by getting out of the house, being separated from him as much as I can, and hanging out with Jesse and Esme. They're like my only friends, and it was just convenient with him because he lives in the same town as me, and Esme lives across the bridge, so every time I would want to go see her, I would have to pay toll and whatnot, and it's just, without a car, it's hard. With how I worded that last message, he took it as I was sleeping with him. Remember when I was telling you that I was gonna tell you when I'm lying and why? This is not one of those times. I was not sleeping with Jesse at this point. I was not. We had kissed at this point because, like I said in my Abusive relationship story time. I cheated on T with Jesse. So we had kissed before. T is basically just like wanting me to tell him the truth, and I'm like, I am telling you the truth. And he just would not take it. He just would not take it. And at that point, I didn't feel bad because I'm telling you the truth and you're just choosing not to believe it. That's on you. So I wanted to clarify, like, because I said it's too much for you and I don't want to hurt you, like, I'm just not going to tell you who I'm going out with, if it's a guy or a girl, like, whatever. Because yes, I am bisexual, so like, even if I was going out with a girl, like, I could have been fooling around with them too, you know? When I tell him these things, like, he's just gonna assume that I'm sleeping with him, when I wasn't. He started going off and telling me that he just wanted his baby girl back. Again, assuming, literally right after I told him what I meant. He goes off and says, how can that just be going out to hang out with friends? That means something more. And at this point, I'm like, I just explained to you what I meant, and you're still gonna assume that I don't mean what I meant? Like, so I got a little upset, and I said, stop assuming what I mean. And not like I already told him what I meant, but he asks me again what I meant. I basically told him, like, I meant it in the way that it's none of your business. Yes, that can be really hard for someone to hear, especially with someone that you've been together for about 3 years, and things like who you're going to hang out with kind of are their business, just by like respect. Because if you are going out with a guy and you're dating a guy, you know, it's just respectful to tell them that, hey, I'm just gonna go out with a guy friend, whatever. But since we weren't together, I blatantly told him it's none of your business who I go to hang out with and what we're doing and whatnot, so I just wasn't gonna do that anymore. Like I said, that really hurt him. And I wasn't meaning to hurt him. I was just being blunt and honest. This was probably one of his first guilt trips, because I broke up with him on a Monday. That next week, he got told that his dad was very sick and that it was genetic and he should probably get tested. And he was also going to be laid off from his job in about a week or something like that. I don't remember. And so this was his guilt trip, and to try to make me feel bad. I broke his heart, and that I don't truly understand, when he also didn't truly understand how hard it was for me to do this. The only real person that understands how hard it was for me to do this is Jesse. Because that whole day, the day that I broke up with him, with T, I was crying at work, like I said. And by the end of the day, I had to tell Jesse, like, I can't be around people because my eyes are starting to swell up. I could not stop crying. Just everything was a mess for me emotionally. So he is the only one who really understands how hard this was on me, because he was there from the very beginning. I feel like he was trying to make me feel bad, and almost like I was trying to hurt him on purpose, when I really wasn't. I was just trying to get my space, for one, do things that I felt like I couldn't do while I was with him, and 3, just be the single person that I've wanted to be. I was always that person back in high school that always had to be with someone. Always. From the point of like 14, like, I was always having a crush on someone and trying to be with them. I was just one of those girls. And it's not healthy to be one of those girls, because you'll get your heart broken, you'll get a reputation, like a bunch of little things that can add up in the end and really, really start molding you into someone that you really don't want to be. And also, I'm an only child. I love my space. And so before T, it was probably the longest time I had ever been like officially single, and it was about 9 months before we started talking. Probably about a year or a little bit less before we started like actually officially going out. I just felt like I never really got to live that single lady life. Do what I want, have no consequences, not like go out and like break the laws and whatnot, but just be able to go hang out with whoever I wanted without someone wanting to come with, or without someone telling me like I needed to be home or whatever the case may have been. My whole point of this, I just wanted to live that life because I felt like I never got to. And this was just one of those messages that was just all talk, because he'd said this before. Let's stop smoking, or at least diminish the amount of time that we were smoking, because we would smoke every single day. From dawn till dusk, basically. It really changed who I was, and it really sucked. And I had always wanted to stop smoking. Maybe if we couldn't stop smoking, just not smoke every day. Like, it just made it to the point where we were spending so much money on weed that it wasn't really fun anymore. I wouldn't get that buzz, you know, that you get the first time you smoke or whatever. Like, it just wasn't fun for me anymore. I had brought that up multiple times. Why we didn't do it while we were in a relationship shows that he didn't really want to do it. He was just saying things so that I would think that things were going to change. And this was just him doing it again. I just told him how I really felt about that. Basically, like I'm telling you now, like I just didn't believe him. I'd given him many chances to do the things that he'd said that he was going to do. It just sucks that, you know, when you're finally out of the relationship and starting to be happy or threaten breaking up with someone, that's when they want to change the most. And this was his response to that. This is what I'm going to call a small breakdown, because he's basically just saying anything that pops into his mind and just sending it right then and there without thinking of what he's saying. Basically just telling me how lucky he was and how lucky he is to still call me a friend. And I was never one of those people to just blow something off like that. Like, you know, praising someone for saying something that is good in any way is a good stepping stone for them, you know? It's like a therapist. Like, I want to be a therapist, and so like from the classes that I've taken, like I know that praising someone for a good deed or saying something that like shows change in any way, like that's good for them. So this is just me like basically like acknowledging that how hard it must be for him. Then he just says like, you know, praising me for who I am and whatnot, and he was just being really sweet because he was hurting. And there's like two ways that he would respond to his hurt, and this was one of the good types, I guess, because the other type you'll see. So throughout all of this, the whole breakup, I would never try and give him the rope, the open door to yes, we will get back together, because that was not smart on my part. So I made sure to be very precise with what I would say and be very vague. I would never give him a specific no, we will never get back together answer. But I would also not give him a yes, it's a for sure thing, we will get back together after a certain amount of time. And so basically I just used the, you know, that line, like I just don't feel like I can or want to be in a relationship right now. It's just not something that's for me. I want to, you know, like I said, be my single person, be my own person, and maybe find someone that isn't so controlling and manipulative. You know, I needed to be happy, and I had not been happy in a while. So during all of these messages, from the time that I got home from hanging out with Jesse to this point, I was on the couch and I could hear T crying. Not just crying, but bawling his eyes out in the other room, in the bedroom. So basically this whole time, he was in the room, I was on the couch, and we were having a conversation. He was just crying the whole time. And once I could actually hear him crying, like I started crying too, because I was just breaking my heart, because in all, this was because of me, because I broke up with him. Now, I'm not going to say it was because of me, because let's get something straight. No one's emotions are based off of something that you do, okay? And in some cases, that actually may be true. Like, if you make someone happy, okay, that's awesome. But in the negative aspect of it, never think that when you do something and someone responds negatively to that, they get angry and lash out at you. That is not your fault. Like I said, adults can control reactions and actions. This is something I really had to learn with T. Like, he made me so under the influence that whenever he would get angry or whatever and lash out at me, that yes, it was my fault every single time. So basically, at this point, he was just trying to tell me little things to make me feel bad, I guess. But he was hurting. And at this point, I was crying too, and it was just a whole mess. And so after these messages, like after the "I've never felt like this" message, I actually asked him if it would be okay if I came into the room. This was the first time in months that we had fallen asleep cuddling together. And you're probably thinking, well, didn't you guys sleep with each other every night for 3 years? Didn't you guys sleep under the same blanket? I mean, one of those is true. From the first day, we never slept under the same blanket. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't think he ever really told me why he didn't want to ever sleep under the same blanket. We slept with 2 separate blankets for 3 years. It just seemed odd to me. But yeah, for the first time in months, we fell asleep cuddling together. I didn't do it because I felt bad for him. I did it because I genuinely wanted to. I really, really did. So this was the Monday after that weekend that I went out with Jesse and me and T spent the night together. It was just a really sweet message. In all honesty, all I could think about was, where were these messages when we were together? You're being the person that I always wanted to be with. And yes, he would give me cute little good morning messages once in a while, but it faded. And in a relationship, things like that shouldn't fade because it shows just like lack of care or lack of interest, and that's really how I felt. He told me these things and I was like, wow, that's super sweet. And so I just thanked him for it and went on with my day. So I wanted to put this in here because I wanted to show that I wasn't just leaving him stranded with his emotions or whatever. Like, if things could change, if things could get better, if there was a chance that we could get back together, you know, why throw away 3 years? That's how I was thinking about it. And so we had talked about going to therapy. Like, I think he brought it up first. And so I told him, like, yeah, you know, I'll reach out to my doctor. After that, you know, he asked if he could call me. And basically just, I think he vented to me for a little bit about his day and, like, all of that stuff. And then just, you know, said that, hey, like, let's talk about the couples thing, the couples therapy later. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine, that sounds good. He just told me, like, hey, I'm getting panic attacks. I think I was still really the only person that he could talk to about something like this. So yes, I was gonna be there for him because, like, I'm a nice person. I still considered him a friend at this point because things didn't really get all that bad yet. So I felt like, yes, I could still be his friend. And so I was just trying to be there for him during a panic attack. But opening that door to being there for him led to messages like this, which was not fair to me because I'm just trying to be a nice person. I'm just trying to be there for him. Then it opens up that door to him thinking that he could say things like this to me, to, like, mold me back into, like, what he wanted me to be, or to make me weak and take him back. This is what I want to call a panic attack text. When someone is backed into a corner, they will say anything to get out of that corner, and I basically thought that this is what that was. And this was basically my response to that because, like I said, I didn't think it was fair to me that I was just trying to be there for him when he would be open to me about having a panic attack and whatnot, and I was just trying to be there for him. But then he had the audacity to openly say messages like that. And honestly, some of them started to work, but at the same time, I was just trying to be really, really strong because I knew that like it was just all talk, and I didn't want to be that girl who would go back to her abuser just because he talked a good talk, you know, without acknowledging anything of what I said in my message. He asks me if there's any chance that he would get me back. And here come my vague answers again. And then I asked him if he would please stop asking me questions like this, because I don't think this was the first time. So this message is him asking if we could hang out the Friday, which was Valentine's Day. And I was like, you know what? I don't have plans. Like, what could it hurt to go out and just have fun with a friend, I guess, and not have any strings attached? You know, he made me, you know, he had to ask me, like, you know it's Valentine's Day, right? And not just like a random day. Yeah, I know. Like, we can have a fun night, you know. No expectations. Don't think that this is gonna get us back together or anything, but yes, I will spend Valentine's Day with you. So this next part is gonna be a little hard to talk about. A little backstory to these next messages. I have a friend who lives in Santa Cruz. She's married and they have a child. Me and T had gone to see them twice in our relationship. Me and the girl met online on Instagram or whatever, and we hit it off and we became friends. And so I hadn't seen her since my birthday. Me and T actually went out there for my birthday and spent my birthday with them. I was like, you know what? If they can come pick me up, like, why not spend a night with them? So they did. And they came and picked me up, and I went down to Santa Cruz for the night. I didn't want them to have to, like, take me back home the next day, because it is a long drive. So I asked T if he would be willing to come pick me up, spend some time at the beach. Never once did I mention my friend and her husband coming. I literally just thought, hey, we've gone to the beach together before, and, you know, maybe it could be fun. Just me and T. During this message, he's basically just asking me, like, if they're giving me a ride back, and I said, like, I thought you were gonna come get me and we can go to, like, we were gonna go to the beach. Like, that's what we talked about, right? Like, that was the plan. We talked about, like, 3 o'clock, him coming to get me and whatnot, and then he asks, like, I can't come hang out with you guys? And this is when I got a little weird, because I'm like, I didn't even mention to them that anything about hanging out after he would come and get me and whatnot. Like, they knew that he was gonna come get me, but never once did I ask them if they wanted to go to the beach at all. I was trying to be honest with him. I'm like, this was kind of my thing, and I didn't tell them about hanging out after whatever. But I still left the door open to, like, hey, if you want to come say hi to them, like, that's fine. And then we can go to the beach. He thought that the whole reason why he would come to Santa Cruz is so that we can all hang out together. I was like thinking, I didn't want to mention them. He never once asked. Now he's just like, that was the plan all along. I like reiterated like what we had talked about, really. And he seemed, you know, hurt that he says they were supposed to be my friends too. This was weird, and I even told them what he said. And this was not me saying this. This was them saying this, that he never once tried to reach out to the husband if he wanted to be friends with the husband and me friends with the wife. And all of a sudden he thought that they were just all friends. No, the point of contact was me and my friend. That was just really, really odd to all of us. Like, I was sitting there like reading these messages to them, and I'm like, I don't know what he was thinking. And they're like, honestly, that makes us really uncomfortable because he never made any sort of effort to talk to them outside of the 2 times that we went out to see them. Me and my friend Shelby, which is the wife's name, I realized I didn't say that yet. Me and Shelby would talk a lot, like multiple times a week. And we developed the friendship. And Drew was just kind of there, her husband. I realized I didn't say their names. That's really weird. It was just really odd. And at that point, they didn't even want him to come over and say hi because that made them really uncomfortable. He said that he still agreed to coming to get me. Then please remember a blanket. Like, you know, we can go and sit down at the beach. We can have a smoke if you want. Like, whatever the case may be, we can have a nice time. And again, he says that he thought that there was the whole point of coming to Santa Cruz was so that all 4 of us could hang out. Well, 5 including their child. Yeah, it was just really odd. Like, this whole thing was just so weird because never once did he make the effort at all. I would always make the effort and then be like, hey, do you want to go and see Shelby and Drew for the weekend or for a night? And then he would be like, yes, you know, and that was it. I was the point of contact. He never talked to them outside of the 2 times that we went to see them. And this was just his more responses to the whole situation. Like, I didn't want to hang out with him, but I was like, that was never part of the plan for all of us to hang out. Like, I wasn't even going to hang out with them after. Like, he was going to come pick me up, we were going to go to the beach, and then we were going to go home. Like, that was the plan. I was trying to just be like, you know, like, you didn't want to just, like, go hang out with me? Like, aren't you trying to get back together with me? And I wasn't trying to, like, make him feel good for this. Like, I really just wanted to see if hanging out with him in a public space at the beach would feel nice. And it's like, that didn't matter to him. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of trying here, but he just basically thought that it was gonna be all of us. That was the whole point of this argument, is he thought it was just gonna be all of us. And I told him, like, you know, multiple times, like, no, that wasn't the plan. I wanted you to come pick me up and us go to the beach and go home. That was it. He thought that I didn't see how it was hurtful. But no, I didn't see how it was hurtful, because I would understand if it was hurtful if I had, like, brought it up as all of us going to hang out at the beach together, and then them saying, like, or me telling him anything of what he was assuming, because, like, he said, you just don't want me around or whatever, and I'm just like, no, like, it was just never the plan. I was just trying to, like, level with him at this point. And he just said, like, never mind, forget it. I was like, okay, guess that's over. And then he continues. Like, let me know if you need a ride. Have fun. And then asks again, like, or continues to ask, like, why you want me secluded and not around? Am I a nuisance? Do they not want to be my friend anymore? And again, like, never made an effort. And it's not that he was a nuisance, like, it was just all the point of, this was just not the plan. In these 2 voice messages, I don't remember what I said, but I think at this point, like, I was just tired of angrily texting and trying to explain to him the situation when he just wasn't getting it, so maybe hearing my voice would get it through his mind. And it pissed him off and told me to get a ride. And then again, he starts trying to guilt trip me because I broke up with him during the worst week of his life, when, like I said, I broke up with him, and then that next week a bunch of stuff happened. So it was not my fault. You know, I'd come here to visit Shelby, but Drew lives here because they're married, and, you know, whatever. Like, I even said, I'm sorry I hurt you. Even though it was him assuming the whole situation wasn't what it was, and even after I was explaining to him, like, it was just a mess. This was just a little snippet of argument that we had. I was paying for basically everything for the last few months of our relationship, except his half of rent, or his third, technically. So rightfully, I had the right to use his car. Even though my name wasn't on the title, I was paying the full insurance for his car to be able to legally be driven on the road. But I would still ask him if I could use it because it is his car. And so I took it and went to Target. Remember this right here? I need my car back, please. And then he's like, are you just using me? I'm curious. This came out of nowhere. Like, out of nowhere. I did not know what he had found that was causing him to feel like this, because with the kinky lifestyle, I had a Twitter that was very open in that lifestyle, and he found it. Right after he asks me if I'm using him, he says, sorry, I'm having a panic attack. As if that makes it okay. And to please ignore it. And I was just like, okay. I thought that he was talking about his car. And so I said, if anything, I've paid for the insurance, so I have a right to use your car. Please understand that too. I'll be back very soon, less than 30 minutes. I was just going for, like, some makeup and some small things. And he was like, you're right, why do this to me? I was not doing anything to him. Let's get that straight. Then he asks like to talk when I get home, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. And then proceeds to ask me how many people I've slept with. For one, it's not his business. And two, at this point, I had slept with Jesse. But he was the only person. And so he was making it seem like how many people, like multiple people. And I just like didn't want to answer him like anything, like even, you know, yes, I've slept with Jesse. He had found a picture of the night that me and Jesse went out where I had a huge hickey like right here. And so he thought that at that point we slept together, and at that point we hadn't. We had not slept together. We just were like fooling around. Basically after he said that, I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna do this over text, so I said I'll be home soon. This is another one of those panic attack texts. It basically tells me that he puked from the stress that I was causing him, and how everything just changed, and you know, why I was doing this to him and all that stuff. And it's like, I wasn't doing anything to him. I was literally just living my life. Remember when I said, remember that he needed his car back? Now I can go back out after. So he was just making me think that he needed his car back instead of, no, I just want you home. Trying to control me, and I did not let that happen. So this was a different day. This was basically like, you know, I miss my friend. Do you want to hang out? And I was just like, I think this was later that day. He's trying to tell me that he's been strong, and like it hurts when you can't process things alone, like just like me alone in the room or alone with my thoughts or whatever. But in all honesty, I enjoyed talking things through with Jesse. Like from a guy's perspective, like it was just nice to be able to vent to someone. After T had like asked me all of those questions, like how many people have you slept with and all that stuff, I went out with Jesse and we just drove, and I just vented, I cried, and I was just like telling him everything that I was feeling. And I had told T, and I kept telling him to do things for himself and not do them for me, because that's not what I wanted. I did not want him to try and do things for me in order to get me back. Like if that was the whole point, like don't do them, because that just shows that maybe you're not doing them because you want to, but because you feel that you need to in order to get me back. Like that's what I want, and that's not what I want, and not what I wanted. And this is a continuation. I don't remember like what time this was or whatever, but like we had talked about something like heartfelt, like a really long conversation, and then T went to our neighbor's house, which was also his friend, to give me physical space, but then he messaged me trying to continue the conversation, not giving me the emotional, mental space that I needed in order to comprehend, process, whatever the case may have been. And so I just told him like, and you're still texting me about it. I feel the physical space, but I need the mental space too. I did at this point like feel like he was drowning me in same questions over and over, bombarding me with questions that weren't his business for me to give him answers to. He was just jealous that after me and him would talk, I would go out and like vent to Jesse. And I don't know if that was smart of me, but like, who else did I have to really talk to? T got me so secluded in my life that I wouldn't go out with anyone. I would text a bunch of people from like Instagram or my mom or like whatever, but never did I feel like I could go out and like hang out with anyone. And this was just a continuation of that last message, and these were just more messages of him saying like, you know, how lucky he was to have me in his life and how lucky he still is and all of that stuff. And I'm really good at like acknowledging someone else's feelings, because if they're genuine in what they're saying, like those feelings need to be acknowledged so they don't feel like they're being ignored. I would do that, and I would try my hardest to like make him feel heard, but like also when I would do that, and be there for him mentally, he would go off and say like things like, I know you're single, I respect it, but I just miss my sub and I miss making love to you. We hadn't had sex in like 3 months. If you really missed making love to me or having sex with me, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have had that gap. That's why I was just like, you're just saying this. So this was actually the night before his birthday. I was like, you know what? I think it's time, because we were still talking a lot and I didn't want to continue to see like on Facebook Messenger my whole world and a bunch of hearts pop up every single time. So I deleted the nickname. Remember when he said that he didn't think that a woman should be in the living room? This is when it changed. So it just made me think that in the beginning, when he said I should take the room and he should be in the living room, that he didn't really mean it. He was just trying to make me feel good, make me feel like, you know, he actually cared. Just because I cleared his nickname. He was like, starting tomorrow, I want my bed back. Sure. Whatever, dude. This was his like reasoning behind it. He's like, I can see you're done with me, so like why not ask for it back at this point? I'm just like, okay, so you only gave me the bed, which I get he paid for, like whatever. He only allowed me to sleep in it because he thought that I was gonna get back together with him, which I never once told him yes, but I also never told him no. I was giving him those vague answers and whatnot. At that point I was just pissed because you were using me at this point, giving me what you thought I wanted in order to like get me back, basically. That is such a lowball move. It pissed me off. Like, it honestly made me mad. And so I said, you know what? You can have your bed. I'm going over to Esme's. I actually went over to Jesse's. I told you I was gonna be honest, and I'm gonna be honest, and I really don't care about the backlash because this was months and months and months ago. I just also, in this point, like, the reason why I lied was I didn't want him to think that I wasn't gonna go over to Jesse's to have sex with him or whatever, but I just didn't feel like being around T after he did that to me. I didn't want to deal with that, so I just told him plain and simple, I'm going over to Esme's, and he never once asked about it, obviously, because his next message, since it was 1 o'clock in the morning on his birthday, said, happy birthday to me, huh? And I just didn't respond because I was like, you know what, I'm not dealing with this right now. Like, you just told me that you wanted the bed back just because I cleared your nickname. How petty and childish is that? But later that day, I told him happy birthday. Yeah, as if you cared. And I'm just like, you know what? If I didn't, I wouldn't have said it. You know, I would have just ignored it the whole day. And at 9:50 at night, he messages me and says, have fun with Jesse. And I remember this specifically. We were actually at like Home Depot or something when he messaged me this. Like, yeah, we're having some fun looking at light bulbs. The reason why he said that is because we actually had talked about going out for his birthday. After what literally had happened that last night, or even that morning at like 1 a.m. or whatever, like this next message shows like, you know, saying stuff like that just makes us all worse, you know that, right? And like, I didn't think that after what happened, it would be fun at all, you know, to hang out, even though it was his birthday. Had talked to his uncle and made sure that he wasn't alone for his birthday. Because if I was his only plan, like, I wanted to make sure that he had another plan. I just made sure of that. And I asked his uncle if he would make sure that, you know, to take him out to dinner or something. Like, I think I even offered money. I don't even remember. And when he would say, like, I hope he makes you happier, it made me feel really bad because I never wanted someone to depend on for happiness. Like, if you can't be happy within yourself, how can you be happy with someone else? And so this is how I responded to that, like basically that. Then he started to make me feel bad for leaving him during the time that he needed me most. I think what he meant by this was the night that I broke up with him, he had told me that the reason why he would like drown himself in video games and is because he was dealing with a lot of depression. How was I supposed to know? Like, I thought he just really liked playing video games. He says like, you ditched me due to financial and emotional things, like after all of this time. Yeah, like emotional things, like if I wasn't happy, if I felt like I was being manipulated and controlled, like why would I want to be in that relationship? I was very patient with him. I tried multiple times to help him in different ways and he just wouldn't take my help, so I said screw it. Why am I spending so much time on someone who doesn't want help or to help themselves? And I think the part right here where he says like, You go ahead and tell yourself that you were there for me, but we both know it wasn't the effort I put in. I think it was within like a few months after I moved out here. Like I moved out here in July, like beginning of July. And by that September, I was having my spine fused and I couldn't work, and he was supporting me, but I told him I didn't want him to be spending money on me for whatever reason, and I was living up north with my grandpa. I didn't have to pay rent. He was feeding me. T did not have to send me any money, but he still did. And yes, I get it. After I got my current job and I moved back down to the Bay and I was living with him again, we did have rent, and he did pay that for a couple months until I was able to catch up, get a full paycheck after starting to work, because the end of the year is a really, really slow time for my job until like the beginning of the year. He did support me for, I would say, at least 3 months. But if he's gonna like compare things, I was paying for everything except his rent for, I would say, about 6 months, to be honest. But never once did I complain about it, because I was like, this is what a partner does. And until he got a job where he would be able to like start helping me with everything else, the main reason why I broke up with him was not because of the financial stuff. Like, yes, that was a factor, but in the end, I felt like I was putting in so much, including the financial stuff, that I just didn't feel it reciprocated. I saw him go to work, come home, have a smoke, and play video games until he went to bed. Like, I'm not joking. That just got to me in the end. Like, who wouldn't get tired of that? Basically, he was just like comparing it as if he did so much more for me. These messages are gonna be extremely, extremely hard. So for some reason, I was under the impression that at one point with his last girlfriend, he was working 3 jobs while she wasn't working. I honestly don't know where I got that. I do know that he was working a lot to support both of them, or at least he said he was. I said that in those few like messages. Honestly, like, I wasn't assuming anything. I legit thought that that was what he had done once. And so I was like, so if you could do that for your last girlfriend or in your last relationship, why can't you do that now? When at this point he was jobless and I was still paying for his insurance and he owed me a bunch of money, and I had his phone, which I was paying for on my plan. So he did have some financial responsibility, which he wasn't upholding. And so this was his response to some messages that I had, and during these messages I was at work. He says that I manipulated him to get a place to sleep by leading him on, when no, like I said, I never ever once told him, yes, we will get back together. I put some effort into the maybe, like the couples therapy and whatnot. No, like, I didn't use him for a bed. I wasn't using him for anything. Honest to God. Like, I didn't need him for anything. I paid my rent. If anything, he was using me, because I was paying for his phone, I was paying for his car insurance. Like, it was just so backwards for him. Something as simple as applying for a job seemed so hard for him. I don't know why, but he would apply for jobs that were in his career, which was like tech, IT stuff, and I just simply like asked, like, have you applied for Uber or Lyft? Because you have a car that I'm paying insurance on, use it to make money. So simple. It just seemed like he just wasn't putting in that much effort to actually get a job like ASAP, just a job that he wanted. And even though, yes, he applied for 24 jobs that day or whatever, he wasn't going to go to Uber immediately. But when you have financial responsibilities, wouldn't you want to like take care of those? Yeah, he says, you'll get your money. I never saw anything. On Valentine's Day, I was at work. It was a Friday. We were in a heated conversation where I was under the impression that he had worked 3 jobs before. Sent him some voice messages instead of playing them and having to go back into my messages and play them. There were 5 of them. I typed them all out, specifically with what I said. I'm gonna read them to you. And then he sent voice messages back. I'll read these for what I said. If after I'm done I feel like I can go back and listen to those messages and have them right here and have you listen to them, then I will. But the reason why I didn't do that in the first place is because I remember specifically his voice would trigger something in me and I would start shaking, and I don't know if that'll happen now. I really don't know what to say to you right now. You're cussing at me, you're saying F you, you're saying I manipulated you and was leading you on. I never once told you, yes, I'm going to take you back. I always told you vague answers to not give you that idea that I was going to take you back because I was not sure. You were consistently drowning me in things like, oh, I miss my sub, oh, I miss you, I want to cuddle you, I want to kiss you, oh, I almost just smacked your ass. Like, all of that stuff pushed me away even more, and it honestly made me uncomfortable, and I just let you do it because I knew it would be good to just talk stuff out. But honestly, all of it just got so overwhelming after a while, and like, how could you sit there and say I manipulated you and that I was fooling around with guys when I told you what happened? We kissed and made out. I'm talking about Jesse here. We kissed and made out, he gave me the hickey on my chest, and that was it. That was it. And so you telling me I was fooling around with guys and effing them, come on, you need to stop that stuff right now, because I was never ever fooling around like that. There was one other person for a week. I care about myself now, yes, but you never communicated with me about the depression, which honestly is one of the biggest things that I'm still confused about how I feel. Because how I was always telling you about my anxiety because that was your stuff and I needed you to help me with that. So why you didn't voice your depression with me really made me feel like you didn't trust me enough to tell you things like that. Even though I was dealing with my own stuff, like, I understand that, but everyone deals with their own stuff. But the fact that you didn't even think that I wouldn't be able to help you because I was going through all of this stuff I was going through really makes me sad. Like, what is a partner for? And honestly, all of this really got too much, and I'm sorry I didn't talk to you about it before, but the past couple of times that these feelings came out, this was just so intense that honestly, I just fell out of love, and there was no going back from that. And honestly, I tried. I really did. I listened to you, I listened to all of your venting, and we've talked for the past couple of weeks. I wanted to talk with you, maybe something from it was going to come out a way that we get back together, but I really just don't know. I never once told you, yes, we're gonna get back together or anything. I know you wanted to believe that and everything, but I did not manipulate you. I did not use you. I did not do anything. I've been supporting myself. I've been doing what I need to do in order to be happy, and please do not say I was manipulating you, because you were the one who was allowing me to sleep in your bed and told me, and yes, you were telling me these things until you found out there was no chance and then took it away. How is that not manipulating me? You know my back, that's the only thing I'm thinking about right now. I understand you probably thought about that. I really don't want to get into this right now because I'm at work and I'm trying not to get emotional, but I bet I know the answer to visiting the cats is going to be a no now too, right? Just because you thought we were going to get back together. Like, I never once told you anything like that. You were saying all of these things until you found out that I was actually done, which really shows manipulation. Sorry you don't want to believe that, but that is manipulating, and it's not okay, and I'm sorry if you feel like I manipulated you, but that was not my intention at all, and I apologize. But I never meant to lead you on. I never gave you a definite answer. I always gave you vague answers to the things that you asked me, which were honestly uncomfortable, and you shouldn't have been asking them. And I kept telling you, please stop asking me these questions, because it got really confusing and it got too much for me, and that's really all I'm going to say about this. And honestly, I don't know where I got the 3 jobs thing. I'm sorry. I really thought you said once that you worked 3 jobs. But if you worked 72 hours in a week and whatever, then yeah, but why should I have to ask you? You knew I was paying for everything, but that's not the point of this. The point is that we're moving on from this and I'm finding a place to live, but I know the answer to the cats is going to be a no, so I really don't want to think about that, because that makes me really sad, and I don't want to think that they're going to be out of my life, because I really love them and I'm going to have to say goodbye to them when I move out. So I'm going to stop this conversation because I need to go to the bathroom now. And it was because I was crying at that point. I think it would be really good to listen to his response, because I thought that I handled that really well. I even apologized for how he felt that I was, you know, about the manipulating and the leading him on. You know, I was apologizing. Even though I didn't mean to, I was still apologizing. Okay, I found them. So like I said, I don't know if this is gonna like trigger me in any way. If it does, I'll just stop. After what I just read you, those were my voice messages right here. And he sent these voice messages. So let's listen to them.
Before I even finish listening to all that, let me just explain why I feel like this is bullshit. First of all, you keep talking about your back and how this affects you. It kind of feels like that's all that you really actually care about. Secondly, you knew exactly why I was letting you sleep there. You knew what I was hoping for and everything that I really wanted. Of course I fucking love you and you left me out of nowhere. You ditched me in a time when I fucking needed you the most. You dropped me like I was absolutely nothing so quickly because what? Your feelings got so intense when I needed you? How come you couldn't have talked to me? You mentioned, oh, I'm sorry that I didn't talk to you. It was such an important time for you to do so. I'm sorry that I didn't mention my fucking depression before, Jasmine, but realistically, we spent so much time dealing with your problems that when did I have time to talk about mine? I'm sorry if that sounds rude, but with all of the problems, even with me talking about everything, or without me talking about everything, you still left. And so if I would have talked about it, you probably would have left anyways because things would have been too much for you. That sucks. Yes, I don't want you sleeping in my bed anymore because why would I want a chick that doesn't want me at all, that I love so much, who's sleeping with other guys to sleep in my bed that I have to take when you move out? Why would I want those memories forever? You act like I manipulated you, but I was really hopeful because you said that there was a chance. You said that you were going to try and you were going to think about things. But realistically, the fact that you went out with Jesse the same night that I talked to you about trying to deal with all of those things showed your true colors, showed that you actually had no intention of ever trying anything with me. You act like it's a problem or that I manipulated you, but honestly, I'm sorry. It's not that, and it's not that at all. I just don't want you in my bed sleeping there when you are going to be sleeping with other guys and you don't care about me anymore. I have to freaking deny this call so I can continue this. Once was it ever about manipulation? I'm sorry that you feel like I'm not a man and that I wasn't there to help you when you needed me. Or, exactly, but I'm sorry. Like, it's honestly crap because, like, you tell me that the situations are different when you weren't able to work, but I'm sorry, I never worked 3 fucking jobs and I never once told you this, so I really wish that you'd stop getting these things from nowhere. I didn't have the overtime availability like I did at Lulu's, and I was commuting so much that I'm sorry that I didn't want to work Uber, but had you ever just spoken to me and told me anything that you should have told me, I would have known that it was necessary for me to do these things. We talked about all the times that I was going to pay you back once I got a better job or once taxes came or all these different situations. We knew that I was uncomfortable with things and that I didn't want it. Yet you continue to just act like I wasn't a man. Sorry, but you're not a good person, Jasmine. You're not a good person for just ditching me, for just taking off when I supported you so much when you didn't ask for it. But I'm sorry, but I was asking for it and you just didn't want to do anything back for me. You say that you did it and you just resented me and you did it because you were fucked if you didn't. It sounds a whole lot like you never actually cared about me, Jasmine. You just want someone to fucking take care of you and baby you. Like, this is what it feels like. And I'm sorry if that hurts you, but it really just feels selfish, and I'm not the only one who sees it this way. You act like it's uncomparable for the situations, but you actually don't see or think about how much money I spent during that time of your recovery. You don't think about the thousands and thousands of dollars that I could have saved in my life had you not been in it. I'm sorry, but had I not taken care of you, I could have been in a better position. But you just let that happen, and then did you ever intend to pay me back? No. But then when you go and support me during a time when, sorry, I was a little bit more able than you, or a lot more able than you, and I wanted to pay you back, you just fucking ditch me. So stop talking about how I manipulated you, because it wasn't that. It wasn't that I was just trying to manipulate you to take me back. It's that it makes me sick to think about you being in there now. And it's not that I never wanted to help you or that I wasn't a man. It's that I thought my best friend and girlfriend had my back, but boy was I wrong. I just want to say one more thing to you though. Stop talking about how I made you uncomfortable with all of my comments and questions. You made me uncomfortable by making me think that there was a chance, and then doing things like coming back and laying in the bed with me after you just fucked around with Jesse days after breaking up with me. You act like I did so much wrong. You could have cut ties harder if you really never thought that there was going to be a chance. You say you fell out of love with me so hard that there was never a chance of you coming back. You shouldn't have fucked around and then came back and laid in bed with me. You shouldn't have told me anything about there being a chance. I'm sorry, but if everything swapped for you in such a quick amount of time, then maybe you need to put a little bit of fault on yourself. Stop acting like I'm the only one who was at fault here.
I'll admit, I probably should not have started screwing around with Jesse so close. It was mostly an emotional thing that I was dealing with, and when me and Jesse kissed for the first time, I had never ever felt sparks like that with anyone. I was finally feeling like I was able to have that chance with him that I wouldn't have gotten if I was still gonna be with T. I actually got through those better than I thought I was going to be honest. This was basically just a continuation of that, his like last message. He would send multiple messages at once and not be able to just say something all in the same message. You know, like I said, there were two cats that were also in this relationship, and that part was really, really hurting me, but I get that he wouldn't have wanted me coming around. That would hurt. You know, I do think that would hurt. And, you know, I just had to take the plunge, and I miss those cats. I miss those cats every single day. Price I had to pay, I guess, for leaving. It was hard, but at the same time, I know I needed to do it. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for supporting me, and if you have gone through the same thing or are currently in a relationship that's similar, please reach out to someone. Like I said, it's a lot easier to talk to a stranger than it is to family, friends, someone who is biased on the situation and knows the situation. So I will leave all of my contact info down below. You are always welcome to comment, or even if you want to be completely anonymous, you can just send me a message on Instagram from like a fake profile. I really don't care. Just as long as you're able to reach out to someone, please do. I am open ears always, and I'm a very good listener. Please subscribe, comment, like, you know the drill, and I will see you next time. Bye!